Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to lesson number 11 of the series of tutorial on how to build a premium theme for WordPress. Welcome again. In the previous lesson, we created a new section in the administration panel called Contact Form to activate a built-in contact form in our Sunset theme. So this activation is generating this new custom post type called Messages, where once we build the front end, we're going to collect all the information, all the messages with the name and the email of the users that they get sent to us other than receiving a normal email from our contact form. We're going to also save all this information in the backend. Now, after we created the contact form, what we have to do, we have to change a little bit the structure because I don't really want and don't need the title, the author, or the date. Like, I would like to have the full name, the actual name of the user that is sending me a message, the actual message, maybe the excerpt. And instead of the author, I would like to have the email as a custom section. So first thing first, let's generate a random message inside to use and to check what is going to be printed outside in the normal view of the message. So for example, if one user called Alex Dude is sending me a message, hey, awesome tutorial. I have a business proposal. Please contact me back ASAP. Thank you. Let's do, for example, let's say that we are receiving this kind of message, so let's publish it. Just, we're not gonna do that, of course. All these procedure, the saving and the publishing section is gonna be handled in the front end automatically every time a user sends us a message. But if we go back in the messages section, in the view page, we're going to see that, of course, we have the title of the post. We don't have the message. We have the author, that it's us at administrator, and we have the date. So we have to change this structure of the column of this page view of WordPress, and we basically have to keep just the date. So what I want to change this as a first name. I want to have the message preview here with the excerpt, and I want to have the email here with my custom meta box that we're going to create in the future. So let's do that. Let's go back in our text editor and let's access the custom post type.php file, because all these editing that I'm doing are related to the custom post type that I just created. I want to keep all the code inside here. So let's create a function to edit the columns of WordPress. First of all, we have to create a filter. A filter is like an action, but it's something that you trigger to edit and update some pre-built information of WordPress. So every time you call a filter, you also send whatever variable or array or group of variables to a specific callback function. So let's put the filter inside the if statement. I'm not going to put the calling on the filter outside the if statement because I don't want to activate the filter if the contact form is deactivated. So if the contact form and the contact custom post type is not generated, doesn't exist, I don't want to risk to activate a filter to something that doesn't really exist. So let's call add underscore filter, and let's open the usual brackets, semicolon at the end. So the first parameter is a combination of a pre-made hook, a pre-made filter name, plus our custom post type. That could be confusing, but let me explain. So the actual hook that we have to call is called manage underscore your custom post type underscore posts underscore columns. So these manage underscore and underscore posts underscore column are part of the same hook. The variable that we can input and where we have to specify at which custom post type this new filter have to like apply whatever callback function we're gonna call has to be stated in here. So WordPress accept these as a variable for our own custom post type. And because we created our custom post type called sunset-contact, I'm gonna put these here. So my hook name is gonna be manage underscore sunset-contact underscore posts underscore columns. If you have another post type, for example, books or portfolio, you're gonna have this hook here customized. So the first part and the last part are always static. It just changes the middle. You have to input your custom post type unique name. So after this, as a second parameter separated by a comma, we have to call the callback function to handle whatever information we want. So always as a string, let's use a function calling sunset underscore set underscore sunset contact underscore columns. So this function name is pretty much self-explanatory what I'm gonna do here. And now I can create a function right down here called function. Let's paste the same function name that we created here, and let's use bracket and curly bracket. So you will notice that this dash is not accepted, of course, because PHP for a function name is always better to use something all attached, or if you have different words, they have to be connected with an underscore. So what we can do now, we can just remove the dash and leave just sunset contact, or if we feel confident, because we already put sunset at the beginning of this function, we can be pretty much sure that we're not gonna have a duplication of this function contact, so we can just use sunset set contact columns as a function name. Let me create a bunch of space here, so the function is gonna be at the center of your screen. And here we can start editing our stuff. Before editing though, we can put an input, a specific variable inside the regular brackets called whatever you want. In my case, I'm gonna call it columns. This variable is automatically passed from this filter. So this filter is grabbing all the columns that are by default generated in your post type. So you're gonna have title, author, date, all the columns that we created, and if you notice are exactly the same as the support. We have the title, the editor, and the author. So title and author are the two parameters that are showing here. The editor, of course, is the editor inside where you write a message, and the date is by default always visible. So inside this columns variable automatically passed from the filter to the function, we have all the list of our columns. So as an example, if I don't want to show the author column in my page view of the messages section, I just have to unset $columns, open the square brackets to access the attribute inside the columns array. And the attribute is, of course, author, exactly the same as the support name that we generated here during the custom post type. So semicolon, and then we have to return the variable that we just edited. So WordPress knows how to handle it. Let's go back in our admin panel, refresh, and you will notice here the author column just disappeared. Even if in the backend inside here, the edit post page, we still have the author box, the author meta box. In the list view of all our messages, we don't have it. So we have the full control of what we can print in our table and how many columns we want to generate here. So what I have to do now, I have to completely create a new list of columns with the pre-made names of the WordPress columns. So let's create a new variable called new columns that it's gonna be an array, and this $new columns, I want the first parameter inside square brackets to be, of course, the title. But instead of having the word title, I want to have the word full name, or maybe like username. No, it's better full name. Full name, I like it. The second column that I want, new columns, open the square brackets, is gonna be the message column, and it's gonna be message, the title. And the third column, I want to be the email. And of course, the message want to be email. And the fourth and last column, I want to be the date. So just date equal, and the title is date. And now instead of returning the columns, we have to return our newly generated array, new columns. So save it. Let's go back in our admin panel, refresh it, and now we have the table structure that we created. We have the full name, message, and email. Of course, you will notice that here we don't have anything. We are not showing the message, we're not showing the email. So what we have to do now, we have to create another action, another hook to edit whatever WordPress is printing here that right now is not printing anything. Of course, WordPress recognizes automatically that the first parameter is a title, so he has to show the title. The fourth parameter is the date, so he's showing automatically the date. To edit the columns and what WordPress is printing inside these columns, we have to use another custom column hook that in this case is an action. So let's write it right down, add action. And the name of the action works pretty much as this one. So we have a fixed parameter, and then we have to specify our custom post type at the center. The name of the action is manage underscore our custom post type. So sunset dash contact underscore custom underscore column, that is singular, it's not plural. And as a second parameter, I have to specify the function that I want to handle and I want to use to edit this column. So my function is sunset underscore contact underscore custom underscore column and semicolon at the end. So now we have to create a function with this exact same name, function, pasted the name here, open the brackets, open the curly brackets, create the space. Inside the brackets, if in the previous function we pass just one variable called columns with all the list of columns, here we have to pass two variables. We have to pass the list of columns and the post ID, or of which post is printing in the backend, because every time WordPress is printing a line, a row of information, it carries with itself the post ID. If you notice in the URL here, if you click on the URL and you open the post ID, you will notice in the address bar, the post is equal to 17. So it means that this post has an ID of 17. And we need that post ID because every time he creates a row, he has a different, WordPress prints a different post ID. And with that ID, we can retrieve all the information we want to print here. So the two variables we have to pass are, the first one is column, singular, and the second one is post ID. We're using singular name and not columns because this function is a loop. So this function loops through all the row, all the messages that we received and we are archiving here, and is carrying just the information and the column spaces of that specific row, not of the whole row. So that's why we're using singular. Inside here, finally, we can write our custom function to edit whatever message and email we want to print. So in order to do that, we have to use a PHP function called switch. And inside the brackets of the switch, we have to use column. So the switch is creating a sort of if statement for every different variable. So because I have message and email, and probably in the future I could have like, I don't know, 10, 15 different columns. I don't want to put an every time if column it's equal message, or else if column is equal email, else if column is equal title, else if column is equal day. You see what I'm trying to say. It means that instead of creating an if statement for each different column, I can just create a switch and then create a more streamlined code. Open the curly brackets and I create a case, single quote. In the case, this is a message, column, you do this, message, message, column, and we close with a break and semicolon. Otherwise, in the case is a email column, that's column, and it's email column, here column, and we close, of course, with a break again. So it's pretty simple. The switch is pretty straightforward. A switch is analyzing a variable and it's creating inside the switch, inside the curly brackets, an if statement for each type of variable that could be inside this column. So if the column is equal message, it's gonna trigger whatever it's inside here. If the column is equal email, it's gonna trigger whatever it's inside here. So what I want to do now, I want to just echo the excerpt. So to do that, I have to echo get the excerpt. And that's it. I don't have to pass any type of variable. Excerpt, maybe if excerpt. Yes, this is right. I don't have to pass any type of variable because get the excerpt doesn't accept. It used to accept before version 2.7, I think, but now it's deprecated. And I don't have to set any type of post ID because in the loop, the post ID is already set and the excerpt will know automatically which type of message we want to grab. So let's save it. Let's go back in our administration panel, refresh. And it's not printing anything. So probably we are not calling the right function here. Oh, that's right. Sorry, guys. The action name is missing the posts. So after our custom post type, let's put another underscore posts. Oh, maybe not. Posts. Oh, come on. Posts. There you go. So the actual action, I'm really sorry for the mistake. The actual action is manage. Name of our custom post type, then posts, custom column. Save it. Let's go back in our admin panel, refresh it. And now, as you notice, it's printing the excerpt or the portion of the message that it's inside our post type. If you notice here also, though, we have a slightly different problem. We have a missing argument 2 for sunset content column. So for him, we don't actually have access to the second parameter of this function, that is the post ID. This error is happening because the priority and the arguments are not specified inside this action. So when we create an action, other than the actual action name that we want to call the function and then the callback function, we have other two parameters after these first two parameters. So the third parameter is the priority. So when an action has to be triggered. The default number to trigger an action, the default timing, is the number 10. And the lower the numbers you go, and the earlier the execution of this function is triggered. 10 is the default one, so it means that it's gonna be triggered after the generation of the custom post type, after the creation of the filter. Basically, number 10 is the default and we're pretty safe. If we put 1 here, we are saying to WordPress that this action has to be the first thing that you trigger, even before these other actions that are before him. We don't care. Just trigger this one as soon as possible, but we don't want that, so we have to wait until everything is completed, everything is generated, so 10 is fine. And then we have to specify as a fourth and last parameter the number of arguments that we wanna pass to our function here. By default, the arguments are one. This is just one argument that in our case is the column. But because I want also the post ID, I need to specify 2 as the number of arguments that this function has to collect. So let's save it. Let's go back in admin panel, refresh, and you will notice here we don't have any more the error message. So what we have to do now here, just as a test, we can echo our email address. Just echo a message, refresh it, and we're gonna have here the email address. So also for this lesson is pretty much it. Today we learned how to edit with a filter and an action whatever column we want to print in a custom post type. Of course, if instead of using a custom post type, we specify just post or page, this editing will be applied to the actual posts list or pages list. So we're not bounded to use our custom post type, but we can edit easily also the built-in posts and the built-in pages post type of WordPress. So we edited the column, we created a full name column, we edited the title, we created a message column, and we are printing the excerpt. And if, as an example, I go inside here and I start adding a lot of text and I update this, I go back in the list view, you will notice that the excerpt automatically is cutting the message because it's too long. So I'm not printing the message. That's why I'm printing excerpt. Otherwise I will have a massive long message and I don't really want it. So let's go back here. Let's delete everything. I checked that it was working. And now it's looking beautiful. What are we gonna do in the next lesson? We're gonna create a custom meta box to collect the email address of our user. Every time a user is sending us an email, the email address will be saved and collected inside here. Of course, we will have the ability to insert, to go inside the message and have a custom meta box here on the sidebar with the email address of the user that we can copy paste, we can edit, we can delete, and we can do whatever we want. So thank you again for checking this video, and as usual, if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. Or if you really like my tutorial and you would like to see more tutorials, more videos, please consider to spend a couple of minutes and check the support me page, where you can find a lot of different ways that you can use to support me, to support my channel and help me to do better video and better content for you. Thank you again guys, and as usual, until the next lesson, happy coding!